Welcome everyone to the penultimate part of What If Trunks Stayed in the Past. I'm really excited for you guys to get to see the ending. I think I have a cool twist on superhero. Anyways, don't forget to leave a like and enjoy. Only a few months passed by when the Earth was greeted by a new enemy. Frieza had returned to Earth once more. However, this time he wasn't alone. With him was a Pharaoh Saiyan and his father, named Broly and Paragus, respectively. Our future heroes don't play too much of a big part in this story arc, but they do sense the incoming battles. They eventually make their way to the Arctic, and they, instead of Frieza, take care of Broly, while Goku and Vegeta go off to fuse. Vegeta specifically tells Trunks to let them handle this, so he doesn't use his beast form. Even so, he tries to coach Broly into controlling his angry power, as does future Gohan. He's always struggled with his emotions himself, and he wants to help Broly through this, but it's clear that this monster is way too far gone. He wonders if this was his and his present counterpart's destiny, an angry ball of rage. But he's felt the beast power within him before, and so has present Gohan. If they were pushed to that limit, angry just like Broly was, could they tap into it? They're much more in tune with their emotions than ever before, so if they could obtain that power, they could surely protect Earth forevermore, and not have to rely on Goku and the others all the time, not even Trunks. And that's what future Gohan wanted more than anything, to let Trunks rest. He's gone through too much for his sake. He does, however, want to help Broly through it eventually. If he can understand himself, he can help Broly do it too. But with the combined effort of Goku and Vegeta fusing into Gogeta, this threat was defeated, and it seems like they gained an ally in Broly along the way. And once again, a small period of peace returned to Earth. That's really Goku and Vegeta's story, so Trunks really isn't that involved. Present Gohan focused on his studies, as he was completing some breakthrough research on a new discovery in ant species. Future Gohan remained focused on his martial arts and lived in solitude, near where Piccolo lived. Future Trunks also kept a tight training schedule, training with his father some days, helping Goten and Trunks train others, and of course, training with both Gohans, but mainly future Gohan, given how busy the other one was recently. It wasn't long till this moment of peace was interrupted again. The Galactic Patrol had come to Earth looking for Majin Buu's egg, but they soon realized that Majin Buu was no more. He had been defeated by Trunks and Gohan many years ago, but they needed help against Moro. Without much of a choice, Jakku informs Miras about Goku and Vegeta, thus requesting their help. No one expected anything serious to come of this, but after some time passed, unknown to the Z Fighters, Goku and Vegeta would face their greatest challenge yet, a wizard named Moro, who had been freed from his prison and now traveled to Namek in order to gain his youth. Most Namekians perished during this conflict, and both Goku and Vegeta lost dramatically. Moro has some incredible energy-stealing abilities. They now sought their own paths. Earth was greeted by space pirates under the command of Moro. They called themselves the Macaroni Gang, and with little effort, they were defeated and captured by Piccolo, who interrogates them, asking if they had any relation with the interference he's been feeling from outer space. Jakku informed Bulma and the others at the lookout about the situation involving Moro in space, and how 3 of his men were currently on Earth. He also specifically explained that one of them had the ability to copy his opponent's moves. Bulma tells him to calm down before calling future Trunks and informing him of the situation. Now they'll need to get in contact with the other Z Fighters so that everyone can prepare for when the Force arrives. As soon as Bulma ends the call, however, a circular portal opens right in front of her and 3 figures descend. They turn to face Bulma and each fire an attack, completely unprompted. Piccolo, Krillin, and Jakku have no option and immediately jump in front of Bulma, firing a blast each to protect her. Piccolo's special beam cannon forces all of them back, as 7-3 takes a note of this. 7-3 grabs Piccolo by the neck, stealing his technique in an instant, before firing a special beam cannon right at him. 7-3 follows up by extending his arm and punching Jakku, causing him to go flying off the lookout. Both 7-3 and Shimoreka give chase instantly. Krillin attempts to assist too, but is grabbed by Yumba. 7-3 takes on Piccolo, whilst Jakku takes on the small but deadly Shimoreka. Gohan arrives and saves his master. Gohan begins single-handedly beating on 7-3, evading a Hellstone grenade before proceeding to knock the android down. Frustrated, 7-3 digs deep into Piccolo's arsenal and begins to grow in size, utilizing the great Namekian technique. But even this seems to be futile on 7-3's part, as Gohan finds his attack even easier to evade, and while he's flying around the Titan, he begins to charge up a super Kamehameha. Gohan suddenly appears before the towering android, unleashing the attack at full force. The beam is about to reach him when suddenly the android reverts back to his usual size, saving himself, opening out his palm and absorbing the energy with ease, thanks to Moro's technique. Everyone is baffled at what they see, and Jakku fills them all in, explaining how 7-3 has the ability to store and switch between 3 copied abilities, which last a certain amount of time. Both Future Trunks and Future Gohan arrive on the scene. Now, with renewed vigor, the Z-Fighters all rush towards their foes, pushing them back and doing considerable damage, to the point that Shimureka contacts Sagambo. He informs Moro of the situation on Earth, and how these fighters are putting up enough of a fight to even force 7-3 to rely on Moro's techniques. Moro is surprised that there are other warriors in the universe who possess incredible power. Future Trunks kicks 7-3, sending him crashing out into the lookout.
I'm not sure why you bothered to come here. If you were expecting Earth to be weak and unprotected in Goku's and Vegeta's absence, then you're sorely mistaken. They are not even the strongest fighters Earth has to offer.
Moro is surprised to hear this. First of all, he had no idea this was Goku and Vegeta's home planet, but this brat was announcing that he was stronger than both of them. Looks like planet Earth would be the next on the list. Moro smirked, leaning back and ordering his men to return back to his ship. They'll make their way to the planet and take it by force. Trunks smirked.
I hope you know, I'm not going to let any of you escape.
Before anyone could react, Trunks burst into Beast and rushed forward, blasting at point-blank range at the unsuspecting Shimureka, obliterating him in an instant. 7-3 looks as calm as he usually does, though as he begins to open a portal to make his escape, Yumba jumps through, but is stopped halfway as he's grabbed by Trunks. He proceeds to throw him towards the sky before firing a red beam, finishing him off. 7-3 turns back, only to be met by a fist, sending him into the control panel at Moro's ship. Both Gohans rush off, following Trunks through the portal and into Moro's spaceship. Seconds before the portal closes for good, Piccolo and Krillin look on in shock, unsure of where they ended up. Moro turns back to see what all the fuss was about, not expecting to see the Earthlings. He looked at Trunks. He certainly wasn't exaggerating with his power. It was unlike anything he'd ever felt. This power was just raw, unrestrained anger and strength. If only he could have it for himself. Trunks didn't waste a second and immediately rushed towards Moro, beating on him immediately and without hesitation. The double Gohan spread out, taking down criminals on board, including those piloting the ship. Present Gohan kept shouting at Trunks to be careful and avoid the control panel, which was already badly damaged at this point, as he desperately tried to pilot the alien ship. A stray blast destroyed a wall which sucked away many of the aliens before an energy shield closed it. Moro was getting frustrated. How was it possible for a mortal to hold such power? This battle was a losing one, and if he didn't do something soon, then he would surely die. The ship's emergency lights began to flash, and an alarm blared, signaling that they didn't have long before it came crashing down. Trunks grit his teeth, trying his best to come up with an escape plan, but it was no use. Moro stopped the attack for a second, grabbing Trunks by the neck and beginning to take away his energy. It was so powerful, Moro began to instantly de-age. Suddenly, a familiar presence was felt, and before Trunks could turn around to confirm his suspicions, a hand was felt on his shoulder, and in the next second, he was falling flat on his face. The 3 hybrids groaned as they came to their senses. They realized they weren't on the ship anymore, instead on some unknown alien world. Who could have possibly teleported them there?
Goku!
But before Trunks could finish the sentence, he was cut off by his father's gruff voice.
That flashy technique isn't hard to master if you put your mind to it.
Father? Trunks ran over to him, thanking him for getting them out of this situation. Any later, and it would have been too late for them. Hopefully, that crash was enough to finish off Moro, but they doubted it. Meanwhile, back at Moro's ship, or rather, what was left of it, there remained but 2 survivors, Moro and 7-3. Everyone else had more or less died, not from the explosions or the Z-Fighters, but from Moro. Only seconds before the ship exploded, Moro had absorbed all of their ki and used magic to create a protective barrier to shield himself and 7-3 from the explosion. After all, 7-3 would be essential for his future plans. However, those plans would be on hold for a while, as now Moro had to acquire a new ship and men. Back on Yardrat, things weren't much better. Present Gohan approached Vegeta, asking him to take him home with the instant transmission, but Vegeta refused. If he wanted to get home, then he'd have to train and find out how, leaving the 3 hybrid Saiyans stranded there. Both Future Gohan and Trunks didn't necessarily mind, as it was the perfect time to learn new techniques and improve ki control. Present Gohan, however, had an important presentation the very next morning, and had no way of contacting Videl nor Little Pan. They're gonna be worried sick. He was excited to show it to the world, but especially Pan. Despite not being a fan of studying, she had taken a big interest in her father's research for insects. Gohan closed his eyes and let out a frustrated sigh, agreeing to stay there and train with the others, but on one condition. He wanted to learn the instant transmission first and foremost, and have Pibara tutor him. So just like that, Pibara acquired 3 new students, all of which showed just as much dedication and promise as Vegeta. The others went about their key control training, and as promised, Pibara was ruthless with Gohan, not letting him catch a break nor rest until he had perfect timing in the technique. A day passed by, and the others woke to find a sleep-deprived Gohan still going at it. To their surprise and to Vegeta's dismay, Gohan had actually progressed a lot and was able to teleport Pibara and some Yardrats. Gohan growled in frustration as this wasn't enough, and he only had 30 minutes before his presentation. Pibara walked over to him, telling him to calm his mind and envision those close to him and the emotions he felt thinking of them. An emotional link can be help. Gohan did as told and focused on his father and mother. Then back on Videl and Pan, and just like that, he was gone. Pibara was lost for words. He thought that Vegeta had made excellent progress compared to Goku, but this was something else. Guess Gohan really had a knack for that sort of stuff. Gohan made it home and completed his presentation, and the others continued their training on Yardrat. Present Gohan would also drop in periodically to continue his Yardrat training, and was now the designated teleporter. Meanwhile, in the far reaches of space, Goku and Miras continued their training in the Galactic Patrol's time chamber. He was making progress in mastering Ultra Instinct, and Miras was learning more of what it meant to be mortal. Moro, on the other hand, after acquiring a new ship, was in the process of traveling through space, devouring planets and people, trying to find more men, his final destination being Earth. 2 months had passed by, and it was finally the fateful day for Moro to attack Earth. Jacko had been keeping tabs on Moro's location with help from the Galactic Patrol. It wasn't exactly difficult to track a being who ate planets after all. Jacko alerted Vegeta and the others on Yardrat, so they teleported back home. Moro's ship appeared from behind the clouds and descended slowly to the ground. Out from within it came Moro alone. There were a few men accompanying him. Trunks glared at Moro, confused at why 7-3 wasn't with him. Moro simply smirked, before commanding his men to rush at the Z-Fighters. As expected, the Z-Fighters took care of the men with ease in no time at all. Trunks made his way through them, closer and closer to Moro, until he felt a chill down his spine, an unfamiliar pressure around his neck. Gohan called out, pointing at Trunks. It was 7-3. He appeared right before his very eyes, his hand around Trunks' neck, putting 2 and 2 together. Present Gohan concluded that he must have absorbed some technique that allows the individual to camouflage himself and disappear at will, as 7-3 now had the ability to tap into his beast power, something the Z-Fighters were not prepared for at all. Their time with Pibara was largely spent training in new techniques, but also getting to understand this beastly power, controlling it with a calm mind. Now 7-3 had that too. Trunks swung his fist back at the android, hitting him in the face as he turned back invisible. He proceeded to slip away. Piccolo shouted for everyone to keep their guards up, but it was futile. The Namekian had his powers copied the very next second, just like Trunks. He finally reappeared before the Z-Fighters, bursting his aura open and tapping into Beast, enveloping himself in a deep purple aura. He began to grow in tremendous size, utilizing the stolen Namekian abilities. Future Gohan began to speak. Me and Piccolo will handle this. The rest of you take out the remainder of the men in the meantime. As the 2 of them began to grow in size, matching 7-3. While on Yardrat, Future Gohan had trained specifically in the gigantification technique. Seems like this would be particularly useful in this battle. Piccolo and Gohan charged forward, launching a coordinated assault of punches and kicks. After a while, the android got used to the size and the weight of his movements. Piccolo growls in frustration, firing a special beam cannon at his face. The android simply swats away, proceeding to fire his own. They narrowly avoid the twisting beam, but a mountain explodes in the distance. Vegeta and Trunks in the meantime approach Moro, who had been watching the battles commence around him. Both father and son had gained so much experience in ki control, as well as a handful of other techniques, which they can hopefully utilize against this magician. Moro taunted the Saiyan family, but Vegeta ignored his advances and instead rushed forward in unison with his son. The 2 had worked on their coordination and teamwork while on Yardrat. As they closed in on him, Trunks suddenly created 3 key construct clones. Moro raised an eyebrow with intrigue and readied himself to block as he was struck by 5 fighters. Trunks smirked before bursting into Beast. Vegeta responded by transforming into Super Saiyan Blue Evolution. Moro flipped back, opening his own malicious aura. The energy and life force of countless of planets and people seeped out of him. It was terrifying. Trunks was furious. He quietly mourned all those lives lost. Once again, the warriors clashed. It seemed that despite Moro's overwhelming aura and tenacious abilities, Trunks and Vegeta's raw strength was enough to keep them from being completely decimated. Present Gohan and the other Z fighters were having an easy time and made quick work of some of the strongest members of Moro's force. Sagambo and the fused female convicts were taken care of by Gohan and the androids. The other Z fighters cleaned up the rest. Piccolo and Future Gohan were still engaged in combat with 7-3. Unfortunately, those two were having a lot more trouble with their foe. They knew he was on a time limit, but at this rate, getting to 30 minutes would be their own doing. As the two were catching their breath, 7-3 fired a Super Kamehameha, but to their surprise, the blast was met with another Super Kamehameha from none other than Present Gohan. Looks like you guys need a little assistance. You're telling me. The three warriors regrouped, Piccolo, Future Gohan still remaining in their giant forms to match 7-3. They then launched their assault on the giant android. Piccolo and Future Gohan rushed to 7-3 from opposite sides, firing Masenkos at the same time. 7-3 used his arms to block, but his vision was impaired from the smoke. Present Gohan took this opportunity to rush forward, running underneath the behemoth, firing Ki Blast as he slid under him. However, these Ki attacks were different, and instead were Ki Whip constructs, which were now entangled around the android's legs. The smoke cleared, and 7-3 used Hellzone grenades, targeting everyone. Piccolo knew Gohan would be severely injured if he was hit head-on from the attack, so he rushed over to him and covered him with his giant hands. The attacks rained down on both the giant Piccolo and Gohan, leaving them battered and beaten. Piccolo looked like he was done for and fell on the ground unconscious. It was at that moment that the two Gohans had a sudden energy spike. After seeing Piccolo barely alive, the two were hit with a deep and unforgiven rage, allowing for both of them to simultaneously tap into their beast form. They had felt this type of power before, but never like this. Present Gohan screamed out as he pulled on the key constructs, causing the giant to topple over, then immediately began charging up a special beam cannon. Future Gohan was already charging up his own, and as the Titan fell, they both fired their beams, piercing right through the android's chest and head. It was finally over. The giant fell, causing the earth to shudder from the impact. Both Gohans looked at one another, only now realizing that they had tapped into their beast form, all by themselves. Shocked at their appearance, they made a startled comment at how comically large each other's hair was. The defeated 7-3 returned to his original size, no longer a thread. As the two Gohans admire each other's glorious hair, they realize that they've started to flicker in and out of beast. Not only that, but Future Gohan falls to one knee. At first, they just think this is because this is the first time they've achieved this form. But as they turn to Moro, they realize that he has his arm out. He has been stealing their power as they fought, increasing his own and making them have a disadvantage again. Even just having the beast forms on the battlefield seemed to be a problem. Tomorrow, it was just one giant beacon, a power source he could just eat up. But now that they've realized it, they knew they had to take care of him now. Moro, however, had quickly abandoned this fight and rushed towards the unconscious body of 7-3 before eating the android whole. Everyone was repulsed and disturbed by this grotesque demonstration. Moro underwent a transformation, on his forehead appearing a deep blue gem, similar to what 7-3 had, meaning he also possessed beast power. The Z fighters tried to show no signs of worry and continued to stare down at the foe. Moro stands up with a newfound confidence and powers up into the new form. He begins his assault on the heroes. Trunks quickly bursts back alongside the Gohans. The three beast hybrids rush towards the terrible magician. Even with all three of their powers combined, Moro seemed to have such an advantage. He had eaten every planet in his wake during their journey to Earth. On top of that, 7-3, Goku and Vegeta's power, as well as the various galactic criminals. Moro smirks, lifting his arms up to the air. The ground shook beneath them. Large cracks began appearing around Earth. It was like an earthquake being summoned. The Z-fighters took flight and jumped to a safer ground, watching as the earth parted beneath them, and lava spewed from the crevices below. From the ground below, several small rocks were risen. These smaller rocks circled around him, creating somewhat of a barrier. The lava bubbling in the ravines beneath them was launched directly at them all. The Z-fighters dodged and weaved as they could, avoiding the flaming rocks and the lava. Moro seemed to be toying with them all. Trunks and Gohan found themselves on opposite sides, firing Super Masenkos at the same time. The blast connected, but with the stone barrier instead. Moro then slashed his claws at both of them before blasting them with a volley of powerful ki blast, knocking them to the ground and out of their states. Krillin and Yamcha picked them up, moving them away from the uneven landscape and to the back lines. All who remained to stand up to Moro were Vegeta and Gohan. But just as the two were about to rush forward, a familiar energy was felt. Goku appeared, accompanied by Miras. Both him and Goku were extremely surprised by Moro's power. It had grown exponentially since the last time they saw him back on Namek. Miras, secretly an angel, watched on with a smile. Goku looked back at his companions. Krillin and the Z-Fighters were recuperating. As Goku was about to talk, Vegeta interrupted, telling the Sons that they need to buy him some time. That's all he'll ask of them, and in return, he'll make sure to finish this battle with a technique he's been working on. Goku was confused as what that could be, but agreed nonetheless, having complete trust on his friend. Present Gohan was also excited to see what the plan was. Goku nods to his son, and the two begin to rush forward, flickering in and out of instant transmission space. Once close to their foe, they continue to use instant transmission to teleport around the battlefield with unprecedented speed and coordination. Moro was a bit surprised by the direct attack and didn't expect them to come straight for him. Even so, he could keep up with them, and in between instant transmission spaces, he punched Gohan out of one of them, but Goku held him back. He began using rocks and lava to create a molten rock vortex, which was fired towards the heroes. Luckily, they were able to dodge it, but one of Gohan's spikes was burned clean off. Once close enough, Goku launched a meteor combination, which Gohan followed up with a soaring dragon strike. Both connected, but it wasn't enough. Moro fired a finger beam at both of them before starting his own combo, sending them flying away. The three continued the battle, Moro utilizing the elements around him as well as demonstrating his seemingly infinite energy. Goku and Gohan did their best to dodge the onslaught of attacks, and in the rare instance, launched their own. The damage they were inflicting was nothing to the beast, but it was all they could do. Gohan was finally knocked to the side, and Goku was left by himself. All he did was dodge, showing off the mastery of Ultra Instinct. But even if he could dodge most of Moro's attacks, Moro's speed and power were such that a single strike signified a lot more damage. But this Goku had trained a lot longer alongside Miras, so he continued to distract him. He wanted to buy Vegeta time. He wanted to see what this new technique was all about. In the meantime, Vegeta had gone over to Trunks, helping the boy up. Trunks was exhausted and had nearly depleted all of his ki, but he wasn't about to back down yet. Vegeta relayed his plan to Trunks, who was shocked by the suggestion but nodded in agreement. Goku continued to dodge around, unaware of Moro's tactics. With a scream, he burst his aura and pushed Goku away, punching his arms down onto the ground, only for his left to reappear behind Miras and his right in front of him, ready to punch him in the face. Miras had to fight back. He didn't expect this. He was hoping that Goku would have to be the only one to attack, but he had no option now. He would be erased, but he had to fight. As the arm was about to touch Miras' nape, a flash of light cut through Moro's arm behind Miras. The arm fell to the ground as Future Gohan rose with it in his hand. He barely managed to smirk as he was still struggling. I've been missing one of these for a while now, but I can probably wait longer. The amusing joke was followed up with an explosion of ki, destroying the arm in an instant. Moro grunted. He wouldn't be getting Ultra Instinct this time around. In his frustration, Moro began to hit a lot harder, firing ki blasts all over the place, leaving only Goku and Miras standing. They stood in front of Moro. As he rushed their way, Miras and Goku both continued to evade, as Miras tried his best not to fight back. This was Earth's battle, not his, but it was clear to Goku that he couldn't keep this up forever. He yelled out to his sons to help him out as they all fired blasts at Moro, keeping the wizard at bay for a moment. Vegeta began collecting energy, utilizing his 4 Spirit Vision technique, which he had learned on Yardrat. Trunks is still terrified of this power, this responsibility.
I'm sorry, son, that we're always putting this weight on your shoulders. This time, you're not fighting for some doomed planet, a dead father, or to avenge your master. You're fighting to protect your world, your loved ones, your timeline. This is your home now. Pick up that broken sword. Be the hope for the life you've built here.
The combined power of the Z-Fighters, which he had been siphoning off, swirled around Trunks, who was now grasping the broken sword, even far beyond. It began to materialize in the form of a blue blade, as it wasn't just the energy of the Z-Fighters, but the hope of the planet Earth, which was now dying under Moro's power that was entrusted upon Trunks. Goku gave his energy, Miras gave his energy. Even far away, a young boy heard the cries, sending his ki. GT. Goku fell before Moro as the mage walked towards him, ready to finish the Saiyan off for good. Trunks' eyes burned with determination as he burst back into Beast before walking towards Moro. Goku's eyes widened, proud to see not only what Trunks had accomplished, but the way Vegeta had acted. When he exclaimed he had a new technique, he never expected it to be one of support. He just assumed Vegeta wanted the win for himself. But Moro continued to fight back. He rushed towards Trunks. Even Goku got in the way, blinking in and out of Ultra Instinct, just so Moro would attack violently. Goku kept on dodging and dodging, until finally Moro landed a hit. But once Goku fell to the ground, Moro looked up. Trunks was gone. He wasn't there anymore. "Hey, Moro!" The wizards turned back as a clean sword strike burned across him, cutting him in half. Trunks continued to swing his sword over and over again, but Moro began to melt, as if fusing with the planet. The Gohan saw this happen. They weren't going to allow it. Together with Trunks, they combined their powers to fire Kamehameha, Masenko, and a Gallic gun. Moro was consumed. The battle was won, and Trunks fell to the ground. His father caught him, overwhelmed with pride for his son. The threat was no more. The energy Trunks had taken was returned back to the heroes and planet Earth itself, and soon enough, the Dragon Balls would be used to restore the planets which Moro had brought ruin to. Trunks hoped that this would be his final challenge for at least a little bit. Sure, there was an adventure with Goku and Vegeta out in space with a certain man named Granola. After returning from Planet Cereal, Vegeta had an idea of Trunks training with Granola. The scarfed man reminded him a lot of his son, and he felt like they could learn something from each other. A sword master and a sniper, the two got along well, although their training would need a lot more. Trunks' eyes began to be more precise, with the two aliens bonding over their destroyed planets. But Trunks never lost hope, and that inspired Granola. He wanted to do good for everyone. Granola would go out in space, seeking what it meant to be himself, while Trunks returned home. And so, years passed on by. Unknown to him though, the same organization that destroyed his future timeline was working in the shadows, creating two new androids, in a situation that seemed eerily familiar. But will Trunks have the power to stop them? Next, what if Trunks stayed in the past? Thanks for watching, everyone. That was the new episode of What If Trunks Stayed in the Past. There's one more chapter left to this story, and the final one is really the one I'm looking forward to the most. I think I have a pretty cool angle for superhero. A huge thank you to Brando_edits for help with the thumbnail of this video. This was edited by myself and Chris Diaz, and written by the lovely Novaria_8. And as always, thank you to the members and the patrons of the channel, whose names you can see on screen now. Patreon is where I post most of the stuff and where you can get access to videos early, but there is some neat perks for members as well, such as emojis and badges, as well as an exclusive Discord rank. If you're looking to watch more Dragon Ball stuff, I recently completed What If Janemba Turned Good, a wacky story but one of my absolute favorite ones ever. And I also did a recent recap of the Baby and Black Star Dragon Ball arc from Dragon Ball GT, with the second half, the Super 17 and Shadow Dragons arc, coming on Sunday. So check them out, and don't forget to share with friends who like Dragon Ball. See you guys on the next video.